Your phone buzzes, you look, nothing important. You look again 10 minutes later, nothing again. Now, you already know this pattern. You have lived it 100 times today. Most people call this addiction, but the real answer is far stranger. Your brain is not hooked on your phone. It is hooked on a system that existed long before screens, long before electricity, long before anything resembling a notification. What you are feeling every time you glance down is a 50,000-year-old survival instinct running on hardware that was never built for glass rectangles. And once you understand what that instinct actually is, you will never look at your phone the same way again. Start with a simple question. Why does checking your phone feel good even when there is nothing there? You would think a blank screen, an empty inbox, a feed with nothing new would feel disappointing. Sometimes it does, but most of the time, you check again anyway. That is not a flaw in your willpower. That is a very specific kind of wiring, and it has a name. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran a series of experiments on pigeons. He placed them in boxes with a lever, peck the lever, get a food pellet, simple enough. But then Skinner changed the rules. Instead of rewarding every peck, he rewarded pecks randomly. Sometimes the pigeon got food immediately. Sometimes it had to peck 50 times before anything happened. Sometimes nothing happened at all for a long stretch. You would expect the random pigeons to give up faster. They did not. They pecked harder and they pecked more often than the pigeons who got a reward every single time. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. Uncertainty, it turns out, is more compelling than certainty. Your brain does not crave the reward. It craves the possibility of the reward. Now think about your phone. Every scroll is a peck at the lever. Sometimes there is nothing. Sometimes there is a message from someone you like. Sometimes there is a like on a photo you posted at midnight, hoping someone would notice. You never know which peck will pay off. That unpredictability is not a design accident. It is the exact mechanism Skinner discovered 70 years ago, rebuilt in an app. But here is where it gets stranger. The reward itself is not really the point either. In the 1990s, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz was recording activity in the brains of monkeys while they learned to expect a reward, in this case a squirt of juice after a specific cue. What he found surprised him. Dopamine, the chemical everyone associates with pleasure, did not spike when the juice arrived. It spiked before the juice arrived. It spiked at the moment of anticipation. Even more surprising, once the monkeys learned the pattern perfectly, once the reward became predictable, the dopamine spike faded almost to nothing. But if Schultz changed the odds, if he made the reward uncertain again, the dopamine surged higher than ever. Your brain, it turns out, is not a pleasure-seeking machine. It is a prediction machine. It rewards you for not knowing what happens next. This is the part most people never connect to their own behavior. You do not check your phone because you expect good news. You check it because you do not know what you will find. The not knowing is the hook. Certainty kills the urge. Uncertainty feeds it. Every silent, uneventful check of your phone is still doing something, quietly training your brain to check again. So why would evolution build a brain this obsessed with uncertain information in the first place? For that, you have to go back further than any experiment. You have to go back to the world your ancestors actually lived in, long before laboratories, long before pigeons and monkeys and dopamine sensors. For most of human history, information was survival. Not entertainment, not distraction, survival. Knowing where the predators were, knowing who in the group was angry, who was injured, who was planning to leave, who might share food, and who might not. In small hunter-gatherer bands, missing a piece of social information could mean missing a warning, missing an alliance, missing a threat. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying exactly this. He proposed that the human brain grew as large as it did largely to manage social relationships, not to manage tools or hunting alone. In his research on primate grooming, he noted that monkeys and apes spend enormous amounts of time picking through each other's fur, not just for hygiene, but to maintain social bonds and gather information about the group. Dunbar argued that human language itself evolved as a kind of vocal grooming, a faster way to exchange social information than picking lice off each other one at a time. Gossip, in other words, was not a modern character flaw. It was one of the most important survival tools your ancestors had. Knowing what was happening in the group constantly, quietly, obsessively, kept you inside the group. And being outside the group alone on the savannah was often a death sentence. Do you see where this is going? Your ancestors survived by staying informed about their social world in real time. Their brains rewarded that behavior with small hits of dopamine every time new information arrived because new information genuinely could save their life. That system worked beautifully for 100,000 years in bands of maybe 50 to 150 people, which, not coincidentally, is close to the number Dunbar later calculated as the natural limit of human social relationships. Then, within the span of a single lifetime, that ancient system got handed a device that could deliver social information every few seconds from thousands of people at once at any hour of the day or night. Nobody redesigned your brain for this. Nobody could have. Evolution does not move at the speed of software updates. Here is the counterintuitive twist. Your phone is not exploiting a weakness that has nothing to do with you. It is exploiting the exact same mechanism that once kept your ancestors alive. The urge to check is not broken behavior. It is ancient behavior, aimed at a target it was never designed for. You are not weak-willed. You are running perfectly functional software on a threat landscape that no longer exists. Think about what a notification actually mimics. A red dot, a buzz in your pocket, a name appearing on a lock screen. It mimics exactly the kind of urgent, socially relevant signal your ancestors could not afford to ignore. Someone in the group is talking about you, something has changed, you need to know now. Except this time, it is rarely a warning about a predator in the grass. It is an app reminding you that someone liked a photo of your lunch. This is why willpower alone rarely fixes the habit. You are not fighting laziness. You are fighting an alert system that took 100,000 years to build and that once meant the difference between living and dying. Telling yourself to simply check less often is a bit like telling your hand not to flinch from fire. The wiring runs deeper than intention. So, what do you actually do with this? Understanding the mechanism does not erase it, but it does change how you relate to it. When you feel the pull to check your phone with nothing prompting you, that pull is not a personal failure. It is your ancient social radar firing at a signal it cannot tell is empty. Once you can name that feeling, you can start making small changes that work with your biology instead of against it. Turning off non-essential notifications removes the random variable, the very thing Skinner's pigeons could not resist. Keeping your phone out of reach during focused work removes the cue before the craving even starts. Some researchers who study attention and technology point to a simpler fix that lines up with the anthropology. Replace the empty digital checking with the real thing it is standing in for. A short conversation, a walk past a colleague's desk, an actual voice on the other end of a call. Your brain does not need infinite pings from strangers. It needs the occasional real signal that says you are still connected to people who matter, delivered at a pace a human nervous system can actually process. There is something almost comforting in all of this. The part of you that keeps reaching for your phone is not lazy, not broken, not weak. It is the same part of you that once kept a small band of humans alive on an open plain, alert to every rustle in the grass, every shift in the group's mood. That instinct was never wrong. It just never got a chance to update its map of the world. So tonight, when your phone buzzes and you reach for it without thinking, notice what is actually happening underneath. You are not checking a screen. You are running an alarm system built by your ancestors, echoing through a body that still thinks it is standing in the grass, listening for whatever comes next.